Alright, so 1, 2, 3.
4, 5, 6.
7, 8, 9.
Perfect. Did you say vor again?
No! I've only done it once on purpose.
This is our first episode, and the first time I'm doing like a podcast ever, and we're already talking about Vor and blasting rope, and I'm happy to be here.
Hello and welcome to Fun is Infinite, a history podcast about the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise. Seeing as it is Sonic's 30th anniversary next year in 2021, I figured why not? This is as good a time as any. I'm your host, JetGrind, and with me is my good friends, Cara.
Sonic has had a rough transition into womanhood. Hi, I'm Cara.
Sonic's had a rough transition ever since he became flat-balled. Hi, Gun Cannon.
Where's Paper Sonic? Shit, I'd play Paper Sonic.
I saw someone did like a pixel recreation of like Sonic and Knuckles Superstar Saga, and I was like, I've never needed anything more in my life.
Aw, man, that'd be really good, actually.
That would be so good.
Just give me like a good Sonic RPG. Wash the taste of Chronicles out of my mouth.
God, I did like 7 different New Game Plus runs of Sonic Chronicles when it came out, because I was trying to make myself like that game. I was like, it's by BioWare, and it's an RPG, and it's Sonic, I have to like it. And it just was never good.
Cleanse my soul, Bio.
Clearly, what we needed was not Sonic Chronicles, but Sonic Bionicles.
And Knuckles.
So, Bionicle and Knuckles.
Uh-huh.
So, before we get to actually talking about Sonic, I feel like we should have a quick rundown of Sega as a company, because I do think, despite the fact that we're going to kind of speed through this, that there's a kind of interesting legacy there. Yes, speed.
We gotta go fast.
We gotta go fast.
And also, just to keep y'all on your toes, I'm going to occasionally ask questions. It could be free, could be multiple choice. Who knows?
Oh, God.
I knows. I have a script here.
I have a large amount of stake in that. One of my girlfriends writes for Sega Bits and is a self-described Shadow the Hedgehog fangirl, so I have to not fuck this up.
Well, good news, because from the beginning, I have a multiple choice question for you, Kara. So, here's the question. Hey, what does the name Sega stand for? Is it A, Superb Electronic Gaming Avenue, B, Service Games, or C, it means nothing, but like Konami, it's made up of the Japanese characters of the founders' names?
Oh, I actually know those.
Then spit it out.
Okay, I didn't know how the answering process goes because there were 2 of us answering.
I don't know. Whoever goes first, I don't care.
Okay, well, I'm
Both of you can answer.
buzzing in, Trebek. What is Service Games?
A company founded some 60 years ago, I think.
I assume that means I'm right.
Yes.
Okay.
Congratulations. You've won.
Shit, yeah, I got a free iPod Nano.
To go back a little bit further, though, specifically to the year 1931,
Oh.
American businessman Irving Bromberg starts up his own company named after himself, devoted to distributing coin-operated games of various types. Think like pinball, slot machine, stuff like that.
Okay.
His son Martin, who changed his last name to Bromley from Bromberg, joins the company after graduating high school.
Good choice.
And the two realize that the upcoming World War II means that there's going to be a demand for entertainment for soldiers awaiting orders on base.
They gotta get ready. World War II is gonna have better graphics.
We need to get all of the good graphics. We gotta have ray tracing in World War II.
I've heard of war machines, but this is ridiculous.
Can't have a name like Bromberg. It's bad for SEO.
You want to talk about last names that are bad for SEO. In 1940, alongside Martin's friend James Humpert,
Oh no.
the three men started up their new company in Honolulu, Hawaii, of all places, named Standard Games. Because military focus, military standard, I guess.
Oh, all right.
The military focus was a success for the company, and they later dissolved it, along with a second that they had started called California Games in 1945, in favor of starting a new one fully devoted to their current endeavor named Service Games.
Wait, so does that mean that you were referring to 1945 as 60 years ago?
No, because this is not Sega, this is Service Games.
But
Sega stands for Service Game. We'll get to this.
Okay.
I'm also of the opinion that Austin's just bad at this.
No, clearly, yeah. Well, okay, yes, but also... Look, I know how to math good. 1951 was 2 years ago.
Can't argue with that.
Shrek 3 hasn't come out yet.
Good enough for me.
Time is relative, and my family drives me up the wall.
Time is fake, and I'm ready to die. Hit me with some more information. Tell me more about Sega.
So, unfortunately for the new Service Games, the Johnson Act was passed in 1951 and effectively banned slot machines and other gambling devices from being shipped around the United States.
That's another name for penis.
The Johnson Act, notoriously named after Custer's Revenge.
Christ!
They had to keep those games out of people's hands. It's just too bad.
Jesus. We're doing some deep pulls here 10 minutes into this fucking podcast.
I'm ready for the trivia.
In response to the Johnson Act, Martin Bromley sent two of his employees named Richard Stewart and Ray Lemaire to
Richard.
Tokyo. Yes,
Dick.
More dick. He sent them off to Tokyo to establish a new company, which eventually took the name Service Games of Japan. So we're getting closer to actual Sega.
Okay.
So over the next couple of years, Service Games continued to grow, opened up distribution in various other areas of the world, like South Korea, the Philippines, a couple other places, I believe, and started using the Sega name on some of the machines they were distributing in 1954. However, the attention on the company led to both the U.S. and Japanese governments investigating them for charges of bribery and or tax evasion.
Oh. Damn, and Yoshi didn't even exist yet.
By 1960, Service Games had been completely banned from all U.S. military bases in Japan and the Philippines.
It was a time of peace.
Couldn't corrupt our soldiers with video games anymore.
Can't turn the military into gamers also.
We had to wait for that
Not
till
yet.
later. Turn
You gotta
gamers
get
into
to the modern day.
soldiers.
Exactly.
So now that we are in 1960, which was 60 years ago, it is time to make the actual Sega.
Wow.
Bromley got together with his pals and was like, alright, it's time to make Sega.
Imagining we're like in this auditorium and like the walls are changing around us into the old Sega studios as Austin talks about all this shit. It's like,
It's like the carousel of progress.
yeah,
You're
it's time to
welcome.
make Sega.
Make a religion out of this.
No, don't.
You wouldn't be the first.
So because of the bans, Service Games of Japan was shuttered, but in its place, two new companies were started by the men Now minus James Humpert, who had left after being paid $50K, which is about $460K in today money.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Well. Yeah.
Could be worse.
I'm going to say these incorrectly, probably. Nihon Garaku Busan, which continued the coin-operated business but expanded outside of just games, so like jukeboxes and stuff like that. And Nihon Kikai Seizo, which focused on manufacturing slot machines under the Sega name.
Not bad for a
in-
gaijin, by the way.
Yeah, I don't speak Japanese. I know a couple of words here or there. I know how to ask somebody if they speak English. In 1965, Nihon Garaku Busan merged with a company called Rosen Enterprises, which was another coin-operated American company in Japan,
Okay.
who also happened to be one of their larger competitors in the industry, and officially changed their names to Sega Enterprises Limited.
Whenever you say coin operated, I don't think about like a machine you put a coin in. I think like the little company itself, you have to like twist the generator with a coin. It's coin operated.
I feel like that's a Kairosoft game you could get on your phone.
The CEO's got to get in every day and pop a quarter in, or else he can't do his office work.
Coin operator story. I'd play that. So at this point, Sega just completely stops making slot machines and stops licensing to military bases in favor of other types of coin-operated games, such as pinball, presumably pachinko at this point. I don't know when pachinko actually started. I probably should have looked that up, actually.
I was just about to say, like, this is sounding more like a Konami story.
I'm just thinking about a world where Sega didn't stop being a military contractor and we ended up with the Raytheon of gaming.
Introducing.
Yakuza, but it's U.S. Army propaganda.
I was just thinking about that. Horrific. Have you said the Pledge of Allegiance today?
Yakuza 3, where everything's the same except the military base they're fighting over in Okinawa is being treated as a good thing.
Oh.
Jeez. So over the next 17 years, because again, we're going through this pretty fast, a lot of this really is, or this part of history is just business.
Business.
You love it. Numbers.
So over the next 17 years, Sega became a powerhouse in the arcades in both Japan and American markets, opened up various branches around the world, and bought out many smaller companies in order to grow even further. They were unstoppable. Here's another multiple choice question. What stopped Sega? Was it A, the video game crash of '83, because it also brought down the market in Japan? B, the general interest in arcades was going down? C, both of the above? Or D, this is a trick question, they were not stopped?
I'm going to say C.
I'm going to also say C.
That's mostly correct.
You're
So
the one who
also
made the
both-
question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mostly correct. What?
You're
It's like
closest
an
without going
80%
over.
thing. There's no real, like, one or two reasons for why Sega kind of started to flounder at this time.
This is not a multiple choice question. This is a short answer. Need to write a 3-paragraph mini essay.
Here's this multiple choice question. Actually, it's none of them. I tricked you. Hi, welcome to the podcast.
It's one of those multiple choice questions that a really shitty teacher makes you do where you have to choose your answer and then justify it with a short answer.
Show your work.
Right.
It's like one time I had a multiple choice question that was like, what happens if you lose one of your ears? And like one thing was like you lose some of your hearing, and two, like it makes it harder to determine where things are coming from. And I was like, well, I think 2. And the teacher's like, actually, it's 1, which also includes 2. And I'm like, thanks, Miss Gaskins.
Don't dox your teacher.
Fuck her, she's a Trump supporter.
So, while the video game crash of '83 was mostly a North American issue, it did also kind of affect Japan. And the general interest in going to arcades was rapidly starting to decline because of the rise of the home console. So, releasing the exact same day in Japan as the Famicom, Sega released the SG-1000 model, which I hadn't even heard of before researching for this. So,
The SG stands for sucks good. That's why you never heard of it.
from what I understand, it was like the predecessor to the Master System that also had 2 revisions, and then the Master System happened.
Well,
That's why it's called the Master System. It was the definitive edition. It's a version that they re-released 3 years later with all the DLC.
I'm waiting for Sega Remastered.
But in July of 1983, the SG-1000 was released and had a shocking 1 megabyte of RAM.
Holy
Whoa.
shit.
I don't actually know if that was a lot at the time. I just think old technology being very weak compared to now is very funny.
An entire megabyte.
But bro, what the fuck? You got a Pentium?
What could you do with an entire megabyte?
You could store an entire book on that.
You could put an entire book up your ass for that megabyte.
So the SG-1000 only released outside of Japan to Australia and surrounding island areas, as well as Taiwan. So, needless to say, it didn't really make much of a splash in the home market. It's kind of an interesting oddity due to its timely release with what we got as the NES, and the fact that the damn thing got less than 100 games, with almost a third of its library just being educational titles.
Still more than the PS3.
Stupid. Those jokes always get me.
It took them slightly over 2 years to replace it, but again, like, it did get a couple of revisions, so I don't know how much the revisions really changed the system, but in October of 1985, the Master System was released, over in Japan at least. Here's a semi-interesting fun fact. The Master System is the most popular console ever released in Brazil.
Oh.
There is still games being made and released for it there, and if you walk into a store that sells electronics, the chances you might find a brand new Master System in box are remarkably high.
What the fuck?
What?
In 2016, it was selling more monthly units than the PlayStation 4.
What?
I gotta go
Yeah.
to Brazil. I gotta go to Brazil, get a Master System for my girlfriend.
Go to Brazil. Come to Brazil.
Sega, please
Fuck.
come to Brazil.
Sega, please stay in Brazil, apparently. That's
Come to Brazil, we got the Master System.
that's genuinely fascinating to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't exactly know what the cause of that is. Like, it might be because it's cheap, and, like, as such, it's cheap to make games for it as well. So it's probably, like, an economic thing. Because as far as I understand, new electronics in Brazil tend to be a little jacked up in price. But, like, there could be so many contributing factors to this, and I just could not tell you all of them. But, yeah, the Master System is incredibly popular in Brazil.
Huh.
To this day.
Now, are the games that are coming out still, like, Sega licensed?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Like, they're all bootleg, I guess. But, I mean, people are still making new games for the Genesis and the Dreamcast. But also, those are, like, fan projects because those people really like that system. This is just more a thing of, like, hey, this thing still sells hotcakes over here. Make more games for it.
I wish we were on the timeline where the Dreamcast was still being made and sold in a random country on Earth.
I think you could, like, Sega was still manufacturing and selling Dreamcasts in Japan on their website until, like, 2009, I think it was.
Huh.
And like 2 years after the system got discontinued, they released a new game exclusively on their website for the Dreamcast that you could buy off them over in Japan.
And its name was Shenmue Online.
No, I think it was some shmup. I don't remember what it's called, though.
You don't have to call it names.
No, that's schmuck. Also, you could play all of the SG-1000 games on the Master System, and I'm sure all 7 fans of the SG-1000 were very happy about that.
Edit this back to when we were on it, more like Shinpoo.
How dare you?
Controversial. And here's the last fun fact I found. Sega also released a pink version of the system called the Master System Girl, and that's just very funny to me.
Oh, I need that.
This Master System has been transitioned.
Why didn't they just call it the Mistress System?
No,
Shit.
the Sister System.
I want the Mistress System. I want my Sega console to dominate me.
I was about to say, is the Mistress System the one that comes in Dark Souls and steps on you?
Slaps your bed and says, "Play Sonic on me, you dirty bitch." I'm like, what is it?
So, over the course of the next few years, Sega started joining in the arcade business again with hits you might have played in Yakuza or other various titles. They've, like, ported these a lot.
Just push them into, just to remind you of what they did.
Yeah. So, like, stuff like Fantasy Zone, Outrun, Hang On, all the good stuff that Yu Suzuki worked on. Because Yu Suzuki was a workhorse in the arcades for them.
He really was.
Also, like, a lot of those games were revolutionary at the time, visually. Like, I think Outrun was this huge thing because there was never a racing game that looked that good and had that sense of speed to it at that point.
Yeah. Outrun's a good-looking game, not gonna lie.
Yeah, that game holds up spectacularly well. Here's a free question. Hey, what's your favorite 80s Sega arcade game?
Oh.
Oh, I'm definitely not looking up. So I'm sure I know some, but I don't remember.
Most of my experience with 80s Sega arcade games comes exclusively from Yakuza 0 and Shenmue. And Yakuza 0 killed any enthusiasm I had for Outrun, not gonna lie.
As long as you don't answer Space Harrier, we're good.
No. Maybe...
I say that jokingly. You can like Space Harrier if you like. It's fun to like bad games.
No, you can't.
There was an Afterburner game in Shenmue 2 that you could find, but you had to pay a shitload of money to get into this building in Kowloon. I enjoyed playing that a lot. I can't remember if it was Afterburner or Afterburner 2.
I do remember liking Afterburner a lot. It felt cool to fly a big ship.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever actually played... No, I played Afterburner Climax at a arcade in Toronto like 3 years ago for all of 20 seconds before I died and had no idea what I did wrong.
Yeah, that game's only available for Sega's Only fans.
The way that they present it in Shenmue 2 is great too. Like, not only do you have to pay a shitload of money to get into the building that has it, but it's also in its own like dedicated like chamber, and there's like a fucking like shining light down on the fucking machine.
Great. I will say this
that.
though about Afterburner. It probably has one of my favorite Sega arcade themes to it. Because hot dang, that song's good.
I completely forgot they made a Michael Jackson arcade game because of the movie.
Yeah, it's a 3-player beat 'em up.
Oh my god.
There's also a Moonwalker Genesis game, which is Hotel Mario.
It is, isn't it? Jesus.
Except instead of like closing doors, you're finding children.
Mm-hmm.
Oh! When's the episode on the Philips CDI?
Never.
Oh, how dare you!
When we do the history of Tetris in 2038.
Okay. I'm putting that in my calendar now. 2038, correct?
Yeah, 2038. We'll do
Okay.
Tetris.
Okay.
Okay,
All right.
we're holding you to that.
So in October of 1988, Sega released the Mega Drive in Japan to incredibly lukewarm numbers. Which, I mean, that'll happen when Super Mario Bros. 3 is released the week prior to your system.
Yep.
It's really like they say, Genesis Genesis with Nintendo Genesis.
Super fucking Mario, baby.
In its first year in Japan, the Mega Drive sold less than 500,000 units, which left it quite in the dust compared to the Super Famicom and the PC Engine. You know, that system people remember and talk about a lot today, the PC Engine.
Yeah, the PC
Yeah.
Engine.
That's what people always talk about, right? PC Engine Master Race.
That's what they call the leftists now, the PC Engine.
That's a better joke than mine.
Thanks. I took jokes.
In 1989, the Genesis was released in North America with the famous Genesis does what Nintendo don't slogan. And things were looking up for Sega due to the aggressive marketing strategy helping, but what they really needed was a killer app for the system. Because they kind of lacked one. The pack-in was Altered Beast.
Oh, I remember loving Altered Beast, and then I played it when I grew up, and I hated it.
Rise from your grave.
Why from your grave?
I have an Altered Beast T-shirt of like the transformation, like graphic, and it's the best part of Altered Beast.
That's what they call me after I transition. Altered Beast.
They just called me Altered Bitch.
Fucking energy of this podcast.
It needed a killer app. They needed something, and they needed it to be fast. Yuji Naka and Naoto Oshima had the answer, and we'll get to that next time when we start actually talking about Sonic the Hedgehog.
Oh, we're talking about Sonic the Hedgehog?
At some point, inevitably.
I'm going to make it my goal in this podcast to make sure we never talk about Sonic the Hedgehog.
I feel like you failed because we started talking about Sonic at the start of it.
Fuck!
All I said about Sonic was that he had a rough transition to 3D, which we all know.
Getting this fourth chaos emerald's like taking candy from a baby, which is fine by me.
Thanks, Shadow the Hedgehog.
I am wearing my Shadow the Hedgehog shirt during this.
I'm so glad you actually bought that.
It's so good.
Is that the, I heard you talking crud about Pop Punk
Yep.
from 2005 or whatever?
Yep. I simply made sure to wear it today because I was like, aha, we're doing the podcast.
This is a great conversation for the audio medium, but it's on your Twitter.
It's on my Twitter at twitter.com/CDIGanon.
There we go.
Which would also be in the description of the YouTube video. Hurrah! So, thanks for listening to the first episode of Fun is Infinite. Sorry about all the businesses.
Never be sorry about giving them the business, Austin. Sometimes that's what you gotta do.
I'm Ganon.
Thanks. See y'all next time.